The cold metal walls of the stealth cruiser Vengeance hummed with quiet energy as Commander Lee Jiho walked down the narrow corridor. His boots made soft clicking sounds against the floor. Red emergency lights cast long shadows that moved with him as he headed toward the briefing room. Jiho had been on this ship for 3 weeks now, moving through empty space toward the most dangerous mission of his life. At 28 years old, he was already known as humanity's deadliest weapon. The scars on his hands told stories of dozens of successful missions behind enemy lines. His dark eyes showed no emotion, just like his handlers had trained him. The briefing room door slid open with a quiet hiss. Captain Park Min-ho stood waiting beside a large holographic display that showed the image of an alien creature. The creature had 4 arms, blue skin that seemed to glow, and large eyes that looked almost human but not quite. "Sit down, Jiho," Captain Park said in Korean. His voice was serious and tired. Dark circles under his eyes showed that he had not been sleeping well. "We need to talk about your target." Jiho took his seat and looked at the hologram. He had seen pictures of the enemy before, but this one was different. This alien looked smaller than the warriors he had fought in ground battles, almost fragile. "This is Queen Nalathis," Captain Park continued, pointing at the image. "She rules the entire Vorthak Empire. Intelligence says she has been the one making all the decisions about this war, every attack on our colonies, every human death. It all comes from her orders." The hologram rotated slowly, showing the alien queen from different angles. Jiho studied her face, memorizing every detail. Her skin had patterns that shifted like water. Her 4 arms moved in ways that seemed impossible for human joints. "The war has been going on for 15 years now," Captain Park said, his voice getting harder. "We have lost millions of people. Entire planets have been destroyed. Our children grow up never knowing peace, all because of her." Jiho nodded but said nothing. He had heard these numbers before. His own parents had died in the early days of the war when he was just 13. That was when the military found him and began his training. Captain Park pressed a button, and the hologram changed to show a massive alien ship. It looked like it was grown rather than built, with smooth curves and organic shapes that pulsed with inner light. "This is her fortress ship, the Heart of Stars," the captain explained. "It's the size of a small city. Our spies tell us she spends most of her time there, protected by thousands of guards and the most advanced alien technology we have ever seen." The ship rotated in the hologram, revealing weapons that looked like living creatures and shields that rippled like water. Jiho had never seen anything like it. "How am I supposed to get inside something like that?" Jiho asked. It was the first time he had spoken since entering the room. Captain Park smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "We have something new, something the aliens have never seen before." He pressed another button and a second hologram appeared. This one showed a suit that looked almost invisible, like looking through clear water. "Quantum stealth technology," the captain said proudly. "It bends light around you, makes you nearly impossible to see. It also blocks most of their scanning equipment. You will be like a ghost." Jiho reached out to touch the hologram, but his hand passed through empty air. The technology looked incredible, but he had learned not to trust new equipment too quickly. "Has anyone tested this in real combat?" he asked. "You will be the first," Captain Park admitted. "But our scientists are confident it will work. They have tested it against our own detection systems and it passes every test." The captain walked closer to Jiho's chair. His expression became more serious. "This mission is different from your others, Jiho. If you succeed, the war could end. Without their queen, the Vorthak Empire might collapse. Millions of human lives could be saved." Jiho looked back at the image of Queen Nalathis. Something about her face bothered him, but he could not figure out what it was. Maybe it was how human her eyes looked despite her alien features. "What do we know about her personally?" Jiho asked. "Her habits, her weaknesses, her fears?" Captain Park pulled up another file on his tablet. "Not much. She rarely appears in public. When she does, she seems calm and in control. Our psychologist thinks she might be completely without emotion, just like our best soldiers. Just like me, Jiho thought but did not say out loud. She has ruled for 20 years, the captain continued. She took power when she was very young, after her predecessor died in battle against our forces. Since then, she has been completely focused on destroying humanity. The captain showed Jiho detailed maps of the alien ship, pointing out possible entry points and escape routes. He explained the timing of guard shifts and the locations of important systems that Jiho might need to disable. You will have one chance, Captain Park said. Once you are inside, there will be no backup, no rescue mission if things go wrong. You succeed or you die trying. Jiho had heard similar words before many missions. The difference this time was that he actually believed them. This mission felt final in a way that others had not. When do I leave? He asked. In 6 hours. The insertion pod is already prepared. You will launch from here and drift toward their ship like space debris. The stealth suit will keep you hidden until you reach the hull. Captain Park handed Jiho a small device that looked like a metal coin. This contains all the ship layouts and intelligence we have gathered. Study it well. Once you activate it, the information will download directly into your brain implants. Jiho took the device and felt its weight in his palm. Such a small thing, to hold so much important information. Any questions? The captain asked. Jiho shook his head. He had learned long ago that asking too many questions only created doubt. Doubt could get him killed. Good. Get some rest, eat a good meal, and prepare your equipment. In 6 hours, you will begin the most important mission in human history. As Jiho left the briefing room, he took one last look at the hologram of Queen Nalithis. Her alien eyes seemed to follow him as he walked away. For just a moment, he thought he saw something familiar in those eyes, but the feeling passed quickly. He had work to do. The insertion pod drifted silently through space like a piece of broken metal. Inside the cramped capsule, Commander Lee Jiho checked his equipment one final time. The quantum stealth suit felt strange against his skin, almost alive with the way it moved and adjusted to his body. Through the small window, he could see the heart of stars growing larger. The alien ship was even more impressive up close than in the holograms. It stretched for kilometers in every direction, its surface covered with what looked like veins of light that pulsed in slow rhythms. The ship seemed to breathe. Jiho activated the stealth field and watched his hands disappear. The technology worked perfectly, bending light around him until he became nearly invisible. Only a slight shimmer in the air showed where he stood, and that would be hard to notice unless someone knew exactly what to look for. The pod's computer beeped softly, indicating they had reached the target zone. Jiho put on his helmet and checked. The seal. In 30 seconds, the pod would open and release him into the vacuum of space. From there, he would use small thrusters to guide himself to the alien ship's hull. The countdown reached 0. The pod split open with a soft hiss of escaping air, and Jiho pushed himself out into the darkness of space. The heart of stars filled his view, massive and beautiful and terrifying all at once. Using gentle burst from his suit's thrusters, Jiho moved toward what looked like a maintenance hatch on the ship's lower section. According to intelligence reports, this area should have lighter security and fewer guards. As he got closer to the hull, Jiho could see that the ship's surface was not made of metal like human vessels. It looked more like the shell of some giant sea creature, smooth and slightly warm to the touch. Patterns of light moved beneath the surface like blood flowing through veins. The maintenance hatch opened easily when Jiho found the right pressure point. Human spies had done good work learning how Vorthak technology functioned. He slipped inside and found himself in a narrow tunnel that curved away into darkness. The inside of the ship was even stranger than the outside. The walls seemed to be alive, pulsing gently with soft blue and green light. The floor felt spongy under his boots, as if he was walking on living tissue. The air smelled sweet and slightly metallic. Jiho moved carefully through the corridors, following the mental map he had memorized. The ship was laid out in organic patterns rather than the straight lines and right angles that humans preferred. Passages curved and branched like the inside of a giant tree. What surprised him most was how quiet everything was. He had expected to encounter guards, security systems, patrol robots. Instead, The ship felt almost empty. Occasionally he heard distant sounds that might have been voices or machinery, but nothing close enough to worry about. After 20 minutes of careful movement, Jiho reached what should have been a major security checkpoint. According to his intelligence, this area should be crawling with armed guards. Instead, he found only empty corridors and softly glowing walls. Something was wrong. Either the intelligence was completely incorrect, or this was some kind of trap. Jiho paused in the shadow of a curved archway and considered his options. He could turn back and abort the mission, but that would mean admitting failure. Or he could continue forward and hope that luck was on his side. He chose to continue. The mission was too important to abandon based on feelings and hunches. The corridors gradually became wider and more decorated as Jiho moved deeper into the ship. The walls showed scenes that might have been art or historical records, images of alien worlds and creatures he did not recognize. Some of the pictures seemed to move when he was not looking directly at them. Finally, after what felt like hours of walking, Jiho reached the entrance to the throne chamber. Two massive doors stood before him, covered in symbols that glowed with soft purple light. According to his map, Queen Nalathis should be just beyond these doors. Jiho checked his weapons one more time. The plasma rifle was fully charged, and his backup pistol was ready. The mission would be over in a few seconds once he entered that room. He pushed against the doors, expecting them to be locked or heavily guarded. Instead, they swung open easily and silently. The throne chamber was enormous, with a ceiling that disappeared into darkness high above. Crystalline formations grew from the walls like frozen waterfalls, filling the space with rainbow-colored light. In the center of the room sat a throne that looked like it had been grown rather than built, made from the same crystal as the wall formations. And on the throne sat Queen Nalathis. She was smaller than Jiho had expected, more delicate looking than the hologram had shown. Her skin shifted between blue and silver as she moved, and her forearms were arranged gracefully on the armrests of her throne. But it was her eyes that made Jiho stop in his tracks. They were large and multifaceted, like an insect's eyes, but somehow they looked familiar. There was something about the shape, the way they reflected light, that reminded him of someone he could not quite remember. "You may remove your stealth field, Jiho," the queen said. Her voice was clear and musical, speaking perfect Korean without any trace of an alien accent. The words hit Jiho like a physical blow. His blood turned to ice in his veins. No alien should know his name. The stealth technology was humanity's most closely guarded secret. Even if they had spies, they should not know about this mission, or who was carrying it out. "I have been waiting for you," Queen Nalathis continued, rising from her throne with fluid grace. "We have much to discuss." Jiho's training took over. His hand moved to his weapon, but something stopped him from drawing it. Maybe it was the calm way she spoke, or the sadness he thought he saw in her alien eyes. "How do you know my name?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The queen stepped closer, and Jiho could see that she was even smaller than he had thought. Without the throne to make her look larger, she seemed almost fragile. "I know many things about you, Jiho," she said softly. "I know that you have no family left. I know that you have spent your adult life fighting my people. I know that you carry great pain and anger in your heart." She paused, tilting her head slightly as if listening to something only she could hear. "And I know," she continued, "that your mother's name was Kim Soo-young." The plasma rifle fell from Jiho's suddenly, numb fingers and clattered on the crystal floor. Commander Lee Jiho stared at Queen Nalathis in complete shock. His mother's name echoed in his mind like thunder. Kim Soo-young. How could this alien creature possibly know that name? His mother had died when he was only 5 years old. Years before humanity had even met the Vorthak. "That is impossible," Jiho whispered, his voice shaking despite his training. "You could not know that name." Queen Nalathis moved closer with her strange, graceful walk. Her forearms moved independently, one reaching toward him while the others gestured as she spoke. "Your mother sang to you when you were small," the queen said, her voice gentle and sad. "She would hold you in her arms and sing about stars and distant worlds. She dreamed of a time when different peoples could live together in peace. Jiho felt his legs grow weak. Those memories were buried deep in his mind, locked away behind years of military training and conditioning. Only he should know about those quiet nights when his mother would sing him to sleep with made-up songs about space travelers and friendly aliens. "Stop," Jiho said, backing away from the Queen. His hand reached for his backup pistol. "Stop talking." But Queen Nalathis did not stop. She continued to approach him slowly, her large eyes filled with something that looked like sorrow. "She used to tell you that the universe was full of wonders waiting to be discovered." The Queen continued. "She said that someday, humans would meet beings from other worlds and they would become friends instead of enemies." The words hit Jiho like physical blows. His mother had said exactly those things in exactly those words. But she had died in a transport accident when he was 5. There had been no witnesses, no recordings. No one else could possibly know what she had said to him during those private moments. "Who told you these things?" Jiho demanded, raising his pistol with shaking hands. "What kind of trick is this?" Instead of answering with words, Queen Nalathis extended one of her 4 hands toward him. In her palm, a soft light began to glow. The light grew brighter and took shape, forming a 3-dimensional image that hung in the air between them. Jiho gasped. The image showed a human woman with kind eyes and long black hair. She was young and beautiful, wearing clothes that looked familiar but outdated. In her arms, she held a small boy with dark eyes and serious expression. It was his mother. It was him. "This is impossible," Jiho repeated, but his voice was weaker now. "She died in an accident. I was there. I saw the wreckage." The Queen's expression grew even sadder. "She did not die in an accident, Jiho. She died protecting something very important. Something that could have prevented this entire war between our peoples." The holographic image changed. Now it showed the same woman, but older, wearing what looked like a scientist's uniform. She was standing in a laboratory filled with strange equipment. Next to her stood a younger version of Queen Nalathis, smaller and more fragile-looking than she appeared now. 30 years ago, your mother was part of the first contact team that met my people," the Queen explained. "She was a xenobiologist, a scientist who studied alien life. When we first encountered each other, there was no war, no violence, only curiosity and hope." Jiho lowered his weapon slightly. The image was so clear, so detailed, that it could not be fake. But what the Queen was saying made no sense. Every history book, every military briefing, every piece of official information said that first contact with the Vorthak had been violent from the beginning. "The history books are lies," Queen Nalathis said, as if reading his thoughts. "Both sides have hidden the truth about what really happened during first contact." The holographic scene changed again. Now it showed his mother and the young Queen working together in the laboratory. They seemed to be building some kind of device, pointing at screens and sharing information. Most shocking of all, they appeared to be friends. "Your mother helped me understand human language and culture," the Queen continued. "I helped her learn about Vorthak technology and biology. We worked together for months, building bridges between our peoples. We even created a translation device that allowed deep communication between humans and Vorthak." The image showed the 2 scientists activating a strange machine. Suddenly the young Queen began speaking in clear human language, while his mother responded in what sounded like the musical tones of Vorthak speech. Jiho felt dizzy. Everything he had been taught about the war, about the enemy, about his own life was being turned upside down. "If this is true," he said slowly, "then why did the war start? Why have we been fighting for 15 years? Queen Nalathis turned away from him, looking up at the dark ceiling of the throne chamber. Her skin shifted from blue to deeper purple, which Jiho somehow understood meant she was feeling deep sadness. "Because there were people on both sides who feared what peace might bring," she said. "Military leaders who would lose power without war. Politicians who used fear of aliens to control their people. Corporations that made money selling weapons." The holographic image changed once more. Now it showed meetings in dark rooms, humans, and Vorthak plotting separately. The scenes were fragmented and unclear, But Jiho could see enough to understand that powerful groups had worked to sabotage the peace efforts. They arranged incidents, the Queen explained. Attacks designed to look like the other side had struck first. Each incident made both sides more angry and more afraid. Soon the voices calling for peace were drowned out by the voices calling for war. Jiho saw images of explosions, burning buildings, ships attacking each other in space. But now these scenes looked different. Instead of random violence, they appeared carefully planned and coordinated. "What happened to my mother?" Jiho asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. Queen Nalathis turned back to face him. Her large eyes reflected the crystal light from the walls, making them look almost human. "She discovered evidence of the conspiracy," the Queen said, quietly. "She found proof that both sides were being manipulated into war. She tried to expose the truth, but the people behind the conspiracy could not allow that." The final holographic image appeared. It showed his mother in what looked like her apartment, frantically copying files onto storage devices. Through the window, Jiho could see vehicles approaching the building. "They came for her at night," the Queen whispered. "She hid the evidence and sent a message to me, warning that the conspiracy had been discovered. Then she tried to escape with you." The image showed his mother grabbing a small boy and running toward a transport vehicle. But the vehicle had been sabotaged. As it lifted off, it exploded in a ball of fire. The official report said it was an accident, Queen Nalathis said. "Mechanical failure. But I knew the truth. She died because she tried to save both our peoples from a war that should never have happened." Jiho sank to his knees on the crystal floor. The weapon fell from his hands as the weight of revelation crushed down on him. Everything he had believed, everything he had fought for, everything he had lost, was built on lies. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Queen Nalathis knelt down beside him, bringing her alien face close to his human one. "Because," she said softly, "you are your mother's son, and I believe that like her you have the power to change the course of history." Commander Lee Jiho remained on his knees, staring at the crystal floor of the throne chamber. His mind struggled to process everything Queen Nalathis had told him. The woman he had been sent to kill was claiming to have known his mother, to have worked with her, to have been her friend. "I need proof," Jiho said finally, looking up at the Queen. "Real proof, not just images that could be created by your technology." Queen Nalathis nodded as if she had expected this request. "I understand your doubt. What I am asking you to believe goes against everything you have been taught. But I can show you more than images." She stood and walked to a section of the wall that looked the same as every other part. When she placed her hand against it, the surface began to glow and shift. An opening appeared, revealing a hidden chamber beyond. "Come with me," the Queen said. "I will show you things that your own government has hidden from you." Jiho picked up his weapons but did not point them at the Queen. His training told him this could be a trap, but something deeper, some instinct he could not name, told him to trust her. The hidden chamber was smaller than the throne room but filled with amazing technology. Screens floated in the air without any visible support. Strange machines hummed quietly, their purposes unclear. But what caught Jiho's attention were the shelves lined with objects that looked distinctly human. "Your mother left these with me before she died," Queen Nalathis explained, walking to one of the shelves. "She said that someday someone would need to see the truth." She picked up a small device that Jiho recognized as a human data storage unit. The design was old, from 30 years ago, but it was definitely human technology. "This contains her research notes," the Queen said, holding the device out to him. "Audio recordings of our conversations, video files of our experiments, communication logs between human and Vorthak scientists. Everything that proves the first contact was peaceful." Jiho took the device with trembling hands. It felt real, solid, authentic. The serial numbers and manufacturing marks were consistent with human technology from the right time period. "There is more," the Queen continued, moving to another shelf. She picked up what looked like a piece of jewelry, a necklace with a small pendant. "She wore this every day we worked together. She said it was a gift from her husband, your father. Thumb. Necklace hit Jiho like a physical blow. He remembered it clearly now. His mother had always worn that exact piece of jewelry. After she died, he had looked for it among her belongings but never found it. The investigators said it must have been destroyed in the transport explosion. She gave it to me the night before she died, Queen Nalithis said softly. She said that if anything happened to her, I should keep it safe. She hoped that someday her son would understand what she had tried to do. Jiho took the necklace and felt the familiar weight of it in his palm. The metal was slightly tarnished with age, and there was a small scratch on the pendant that he remembered from childhood. This was not a copy or fake. This was his mother's necklace. But why? Jiho asked, his voice breaking. Why did she risk everything? Why did she trust you? Queen Nalithis walked to the center of the chamber, where a large machine stood silent and dark. She placed her hand on its surface and it began to glow with soft blue light. Because she understood something that few humans or Vorthak realized, the queen said. Our peoples are not so different as we appear. We both love our families, fear for our children, dream of better futures. The differences in our bodies and cultures are small compared to what we share. The machine projected a new set of images into the air around them. These were not holograms but actual recordings, showing his mother and Queen Nalithis working together day after day. Jiho could see the friendship growing between them, the trust building as they shared knowledge and ideas. She taught me about human art and music, the queen explained. I showed her the beauty of Vorthak philosophy and science. We discovered that our species could learn incredible things from each other. One recording showed his mother laughing at something the young queen had said. Another showed them working together to solve a complex problem. Their different ways of thinking combining to find a solution neither could have reached alone. The translation device we built together was just the beginning, Queen Nalithis continued. We had plans for cultural exchange programs, joint scientific missions, even mixed colonies where humans and Vorthak could live side by side. The recordings showed blueprints and designs for space stations that could house both species, vehicles that could be operated by human or Vorthak crews, communication networks that would connect worlds across the galaxy. It was a beautiful dream, the queen said sadly. A future where war was impossible because our peoples knew each other too well to fight. But then the recordings changed, showing darker scenes. Meetings in secret rooms where humans in military uniforms discussed the alien threat. Similar meetings where Vorthak leaders spoke of the human menace. The conspiracy to start a war had been active on both sides. They were afraid, Queen Nalithis explained. Military leaders who would lose power in peacetime. Politicians who used fear to control their people. Weapons manufacturers who made fortunes selling instruments of death. They needed an enemy to justify their existence. Jiho saw recorded conversations, where the conspirators planned fake attacks, discussed how to make each side blame the other, calculated how much violence would be needed to make peace impossible. The night before she died, your mother discovered the full scope of the conspiracy, the queen said. She found evidence that the attacks were being coordinated by people on both sides. She planned to expose everything, to prevent the war before it could really begin. The final recording showed his mother in her laboratory, frantically copying files and sending messages. Her face was tight with fear and determination. She sent me a warning, Queen Nalithis said. She told me that the conspiracy had discovered her investigation. She said that if anything happened to her, I should keep fighting for peace, keep hoping that someday the truth would come out. The recording ended with his mother looking directly into the camera. If my son ever sees this, she said, I want him to know that I tried to build a better world for him. A world where he would never have to fight wars or fear the unknown. Tell him that love is stronger than hate, and understanding is more powerful than fear. Jiho felt tears running down his face, running. He had not cried since childhood, but the sound of his mother's voice, the love in her eyes, the knowledge of what she had sacrificed, broke through all his military conditioning. She died trying to save both our peoples, Queen Nalithis said, quietly. And now, 30 years later, her son stands before me with the power to finish what she started. The Queen moved closer to Jiho, her alien features somehow looking more familiar now. "The question is," she said, "will you help me end this war the way your mother would have wanted? Or will you complete the mission they sent you here to do?" Commander Lee Jiho stood in the hidden chamber, holding his mother's necklace in one hand and the data storage device in the other. The weight of 30 years of lies pressed down on him like a mountain. Everything he had fought for, everyone he had killed, every sacrifice he had made was built on deception. Queen Nalithis watched him quietly, her large eyes filled with patience and hope. She had given him the truth, shown him evidence that could not be denied, revealed secrets that powerful people had killed to protect. Now the choice was his. "I do not know what to do," Jiho admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "If what you say is true, then I have spent my life serving the people who murdered my mother. Your mother knew this day might come," the Queen said gently. "She believed that truth has power, that it can overcome even the deepest lies. She trusted that her son would make the right choice when the time came." Jiho looked around the chamber at all the evidence of the friendship between his mother and this alien queen, recordings of laughter and shared discoveries, plans for a peaceful future that had been destroyed by greed and fear, dreams that had died with his mother but lived on in this hidden room. "What would happen if I helped you?" Jiho asked. "What could we possibly do to stop a war that has been going on for 15 years? Before Queen Nalithis could answer, loud alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Red lights flashed on the walls and the floor vibrated with the sound of powerful engines firing. "Warning," came a voice in the Vorthak language, which Jiho now somehow understood thanks to the translation technology in the chamber. "Human warships detected approaching at high speed. All defensive systems activated. Prepare for battle." Queen Nalithis moved quickly to one of the floating screens. Her 4 hands danced across controls that appeared as she touched them. The screen showed images of space around her ship, filled with human warships moving into attack positions. "Your people have found us," she said, her voice calm despite the danger. "They are preparing to destroy this ship regardless of whether your mission succeeds or fails." Jiho's communicator crackled to life with Captain Park Minho's voice. "Jiho, abort mission immediately and extract to the nearest escape pod. We are beginning orbital bombardment in 8 minutes. Repeat, you have 8 minutes to get clear of the target." The meaning hit Jiho like a physical blow. His handlers had never expected him to escape alive. They had sent him on a suicide mission, planning to destroy the alien ship with him still inside. Even if he succeeded in killing the Queen, he would die in the bombardment that followed. "They were going to kill me too," he said in shock. "They never planned for me to come home. Dead men tell no tales," Queen Nalithis said sadly. "They could not risk you learning the truth and surviving to share it." More alarms sounded as the human fleet moved closer. Through the chamber's displays, Jiho could see massive warships surrounding the Heart of Stars, weapon systems charged with deadly energy. In minutes, everything in this area of space would be destroyed. "There are thousands of civilians on this ship," the Queen said, her voice tight with controlled fear. "Families, children, artists, scientists. They will all die when your warships open fire." Jiho thought of all the human colonies that had been destroyed during the war, all the innocent people who had died because they believed they were fighting for survival against a merciless enemy. Now he realized that innocent people on both sides had been dying for lies. "Can you broadcast a message to both fleets?" Jiho asked suddenly. "If I could speak to them, tell them what I have learned here, maybe I could stop the attack." Queen Nalithis looked at him with something that might have been admiration. "The communication array is powerful enough to reach both fleets, but they might not listen to you. You are just one soldier speaking against everything they have been taught to believe." "My mother was just one scientist," Jiho replied. "But she tried anyway." The Queen nodded and led him quickly back to the throne chamber. She activated controls hidden in her crystal throne, and screens appeared in the air around them showing the faces of ship captains from both fleets. Captain Park Minho appeared on one screen, his face hard with determination. "Jiho, what is your status?" You have 6 minutes to extract before we open fire. On other screens, Vorthak commanders looked equally ready for battle. Their alien features were tense with the same grim resolve that Jiho saw in the human faces. I have something to tell all of you, Jiho said, his voice carrying across space to both fleets. Something that will change everything you think you know about this war. Jiho, this is not the time for conversation, Captain Park snapped. Extract immediately or you will be caught in the bombardment. Listen to me, Jiho said more forcefully. The war between our peoples was started by lies. I have proof that the first contact between humans and Vorthak was peaceful. I have evidence that both sides were manipulated into fighting by conspirators who wanted war. He held up the data storage device and his mother's necklace for all to see. My mother, Dr. Kim Soo-young, worked with Queen Nalithis 30 years ago. They were friends. They built technology together. They planned for peace between our species. The faces on the screens showed confusion and disbelief. The commanders started to speak, but Jiho continued before they could interrupt. She was murdered because she discovered the conspiracy. The same people who sent me here to die rather than let me learn the truth. We have been fighting and dying for 30 years because powerful people on both sides profit from war. Queen. Nalithis stepped forward, adding her voice to his. Commanders of both fleets, I offer you a choice. You can continue this cycle of violence and destruction, killing thousands more innocent people today, or you can choose to listen, to learn, to consider that there might be another way. She activated more controls, and suddenly the data from the hidden chamber was being transmitted to every ship in both fleets. Audio recordings of human and Vorthak scientists working together. Video files showing the conspiracy meetings. Communication logs proving that the attacks had been coordinated by extremists on both sides. The effect was immediate. On screen after screen, Jiho could see commanders and crew members staring in shock as they absorbed information that contradicted everything they had been told about the war. Captain Park's face showed the same devastation that Jiho had felt when he first learned the truth. This cannot be real, he whispered. We have lost so many people. The people we lost were real, Jiho said gently. Their deaths were real, but the reasons we were given for their deaths were lies. We can honor them by making sure no one else dies for those same lies. For long minutes, space was filled with tense silence as the commanders from both fleets studied the evidence. Weapons remained charged and ready, but no one gave the order to fire. Finally, an older Vorthak commander spoke. If this is true, then we have all been fools. Fools who let ourselves be used by those who cared nothing for the lives they destroyed. The question now, said a human admiral, is what we do with this knowledge. How do we stop a war that has been going on for 15 years? Queen Nalithis stepped forward. The same way it should have been stopped 30 years ago. With courage, with honesty, and with the willingness to believe that understanding is stronger than fear. She looked directly at Jiho. Your mother planted seeds of peace that have finally grown strong enough to survive in the light of truth. Now it is up to all of us to tend them carefully. Captain Park's voice came through the communicator, quiet and thoughtful. Stand down weapons, he ordered his fleet. We need to talk. Across the space between the fleets, Vorthak commanders gave similar orders. For the first time in 15 years, human and alien warships faced each other without the immediate threat of violence. Jiho felt his mother's necklace warm in his hand. Somewhere in the space between the stars, Kim Soo-young's dream of peace was finally becoming possible. The war was not over yet. There would be difficult conversations, political battles, resistance from those who still profited from conflict. But something had changed in this moment that could never be changed back. Truth had finally found its voice, and it was speaking in the words of a human assassin and an alien queen who had learned to trust each other in the shadow of an ancient friendship. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in 30 years it held the promise of peace.